Welcome to the journey. Welcome to the journey. I'm
Thank you.
privileged to be your host. My name is Nguyen, and today on the journey we will be discussing how I found my flow with Ms. Marilyn. Just to give you a little bit of a background about Marilyn. Marilyn is an internationally known and recognized HR consultant and coach. She currently resides in the Netherlands. She was born in Suriname, and she's also lived in St. Martin. So she's very diverse culturally, and as she would put it, she has knowledge of and great respect for different cultures. Um, I'm going to let Marilyn take the floor. I don't want to say everything for you because I think it's just more special when it comes from you. So you have the floor, Marilyn.
Thank you, Leslie. And
Very
I am very happy and excited to um, be part of this journey and honored to be able to share my journey with all of you. But before I begin, I have to definitely give a shout out to my people around the world. So it's a shout out in Surinamese. We would say Fawaka, that means how are you? And I definitely also have to give a shout out to my St. Martin people. My St. Martin people. I see both places as my home, and I am currently, as you said, living in the Netherlands. So I would also like to give a hallo, hoe gaat het? To everyone who in the Netherlands, and that is, I just asked, hello, how are you doing? So a shout out to all my people and big kisses. Um, well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about me, but as you know, everyone has a big story, and there's so much to tell. But I'm gonna try to keep it to the things that actually define me to who I am now. And that actually is who I used to be and what made me find my flow. Um, so, in a nutshell, you could say that I I used to be I always was a happy person in the sense that I'm optimistic and positive, that kind of vibe and that kind of type, as they might say. And I was living a great life actually. Um, but there are certain things that I realized only afterwards that don't serve me no more. It would be wrong for me to say that however I used to be, was not good because I achieved a lot, I enjoyed a lot, and I lived a joyful life. But what actually helped me and signifies um, finding my flow is the fact that the person I used to be before was somebody who was a control freak. I think a lot of people can relate to that. A little bit perfectionist. I mean,
definitely.
our parents, our surroundings, the community, they do a great job to try to shape us into the best human beings for society. And sometimes, as an individual, you can go over the board, which was what I used to do. Like the best way to explain it is that I used to be the control freak who controlled the control freak in me.
Okay. I get it.
Yes, that is the best way to explain it. So if I would notice a pattern. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I would find a measure or try to control that behavior. Simple stuff. I was like, if I ever end up somewhere without a pillow, I should be able to sleep and rest because I have to be energetic for the next day for whatever task I have to do. So I would just take all my four pillows and put them away. It's like
Wow.
afterwards I'm thinking, well, why? It wasn't necessary. Yes, and then the fact that a lot of people identify themselves as a perfectionist because I mean, sometimes you're afraid of failure, or you try to control failure. It's the
Yeah.
next word, to try to control failure. But what it's ultimately about is how you feel, and that's what you're trying to control. That in the case that something happens, in the case that something goes wrong, I can still manage it, or if I expect it, I won't feel so bad.
That's
And
right.
afterwards, I realized that it served me. I could plan very well from A to Z. I mean, you'd be prepared for anything. You think. You think. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna shift a little bit, but this is the best story. Um, Planning a wedding. I used to be married. I planned everything to the teeth. I even planned timing going wrong, people not doing stuff, everything. I planned everything, and I was like, I'm controlling it. And even if things go wrong, I'm gonna be okay. And when you think you controlled everything, or you even put away some time for inconvenience, there are still things you can never control. Because the one thing I did not control at that time was the fact that they didn't register me.
Okay,
To give you an
okay.
example, I did not think that it could even happen that they would tell you you can't get married on the day you're getting married, and plan everything.
Oh, no.
Ultimately, it worked out. But that was for me like a mirror, like, oh my gosh, you could never have foreseen that that would happen. You can't control everything. And
That's so true.
that is actually uh, one thing that I realized afterwards, when I lost all control. Um, Being an ambitious person, I achieved a lot. I did a lot. I traveled a lot. I thought I was fairly happy, and I think I indeed was. But there was one big part missing, because at some point when you experience things in life, you you form protective mechanism. So, and what I used to do is with how do you call it, challenges along the way, emotional challenges, you kind of, how do you say it, you hide your emotions, you shun them away, and you put them away into a place where you almost can't feel them anymore. And that is actually what, at some point, trying to control every situation, trying to be perfect, trying to control failures, that's what it actually brought me. I mean, we all have our challenges, and we function and deal with them to the best of our abilities. So that's good. So I've also learned not to criticize myself about being a control freak or a perfectionist, because it did bring me to who I am now. Somebody who is actually living in flow, found her flow. Um, but there was one specific um, yeah, event that happened, which changed my life actually, and that was getting burned out. I can now talk about it and laugh, but even laugh with emotions, and even cry without feeling embarrassed, without feeling that I have to control my emotions. Um, that is something that was very recent. Like 2 years ago, it's when I actually, you could say, hit rock bottom. When you, at some point, don't have a place to stay of your own. I mean, you have family where you can turn to, but when you're such a control freak and a perfectionist, you feel like you have to have it in control. You don't even want to ask people, because you're always the person who people come to and it's difficult. The gap seemed so big for me to ask for help. I couldn't. Thank God I have people around me and family um who checked on me, and one person who asked me, "You want to stay with me?" So that is actually after being control freak and a perfectionist in shunning away your emotions, which over the years builds up. And a burnout is never just something that happens within a year or over a day or a task or a month. It just really build up from years, and that's where I ended up. You feel lost, you feel you're depressed, you actually have no idea what to do next, because it's new, it's
Yes.
so different, and it's a feeling which does not feel good. So for me to find my flow, I had to really get a burnout in a sense that knowing the person I was, knowing how strong minded, strong willed I was, and so sure of what I was doing and how I was doing it, and knowing that also from your upbringing or from what you learned, you need to be strong, and you don't depend on others, you depend on yourselves. Those things we learn, and sometimes it's not even from our parents, but it's from what you see and hear around you. Leslie, do you hear me? I don't hear you. The connection, I don't.
Technology, because we can see you, but we just weren't hearing you. And I think it may have just been the connection.
It was the
So okay,
connection. Do you hear me now?
you got it. We hear you. We hear you.
Okay,
We're back.
great. I don't know which part you missed, but I'm gonna briefly shift a little bit.
No
So I
problem.
was talking about landing in a burnout and how
Yes.
you get there by the beliefs you have and beliefs you actually cultivate throughout your upbringing, and actually what you see in society, and social media, whatever it is. So what I was trying to say is that I had to get that burnout in order to find my flow. And what that actually meant for me is that knowing the person I used to be, so very sure of myself, and actually sometimes, often, very stubborn in your ways. I can now say that proudly. um, I realized that in order for me to change, something drastically had to happen. And that
Okay.
is what the burnout gave me. That was a drastic thing that had to happen for me to, like, be stripped of everything that you know in order to be vulnerable and face your emotions. It's when you actually have nowhere else, or nothing left to hold on to. You are forced to look within. You are forced to find the strength within yourself. And that's what happened to me, and that's how I actually slowly found my flow. And finding your flow for me means like finding your own rhythm inside.
I love it.
Yes. So in a nutshell, I came from being a control freak and a perfectionist, and I was a little bit, how do you say it? I'm thinking in Dutch, right? A little bit hard as to certain subjects, just using logic, and no, but that's how it needs to be. So my professional life was actually also taking over my personal life, and we are different in a professional setting than in a personal setting, and that's actually what
Wow.
happened to me. And I transformed into um, the true me. And the true me, how I feel right now, the person I identify as right now, and which does not come from the mind but does come from my heart, is somebody who's full of love. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm feeling my heart beating. So I'm alive, and I'm enjoying this moment. So I've really learned to live in the now and not really worry about what if. I don't have to control anything. Um, so it took a lot for me to reach this flow I have found. Um, and flow is actually your rhythm. That doesn't mean that I'm always happy. It just means that I'm happy even if I don't feel that well. So I'm trying to really dance and live life based on my own rhythm, not somebody else's, and just finding the answers within. Kind of.
That's so beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for giving us a clearer view of who Marilyn is.
Thank you. You're
I
welcome.
think absolutely. Every time I'm privileged to hear what a guest has to share, I always leave with something else to enrich my own perspective in my own life. And so I sincerely am thanking you. There are so many people listening who can identify with so many things that you've just said. Because in the world, we can't control everything that happens
True.
to us, around us. And oftentimes, like you said, a burnout doesn't just happen overnight, but it's it's like just chronic. To me, it seems like chronic attacks on the mind.
Yes.
That if for some reason we're not handling the way that we can only do what we can do. If we don't know how to best handle it,
Yeah.
then it's going to build up over time, and there's only so much the mind can take
Yes.
over time without reacting
Yes.
to all of the stimuli coming toward it. And so I love how you just took us through the story of how you best were able to deal with life before the burnout, appreciating the good even before the burnout, but realizing that ultimately something had to change and the
Yes.
burnout was necessary.
Yes.
And I love that you call it the burnout, because when I think of immediately what came to my mind when you said that, Marilyn, and I'm not going to take up too much time because there's a lot I want to
Yeah.
discuss with you. But when you said burnout, what immediately came to my mind was there's a story, or basically an analogy in the Bible that talks about when someone has to pass through the fire, or when something is passed through the fire,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that's not needed or can't stay, it burns away, and it just leaves the essence
Yes.
of what went through that fire, and it leaves it purified. And you said even though it was such a rough place to be, you said it was necessary, and you said you found yourself in it, and I think that's so rich. And
Yes.
I think that if people are able to even look at those times of burnout and those lowest times and realize that whatever they came out with was what they needed, and whatever they lost, no matter how painful it was, ultimately they didn't need it to get to where they are now. I think
Yes.
that that's very insightful.
Yes.
I'd like to talk about one in particular. I remember you said that there was a certain natural disaster that you had lived through.
Yeah.
And I'd like for you to share with us about that and how it impacted your perspective. So I'll give you the floor back.
Yes, indeed. In 2017, I was still living in St. Martin, and it's when Hurricane Irma passed and actually destroyed everything. There was also a very an event that deeply impacted me and does give you a different outlook on life. Um, what I remember from the disaster is that um, it was at some point such a huge, it has a huge impact on you, but mostly on your brain. Imagine just waking up, everything is nice, beautiful, it's calm, the sun is shining, there's green trees, everything is good. And then you go in and take shelter for a couple of hours, and you're everything, you hear a lot of noises, and I was mentally prepared, the control freak, so I prepared myself. You hear a lot of noises. I mean, you keep faith. But even though you keep faith and you're prepared, I was not prepared for what I saw afterwards. And that was just the picture of destruction. Um, the gap was so big for your mind to comprehend that it really takes some days for you to realize, like, whoa, something big really did happen. And you realize also the power of the wind. But mostly, um, I was I was shocked. Um, I was shocked that how you go into survival mode, right? After it just happened, I mean, you see it, you get shocked, and then you continue. It was only after the third day that I broke down. I mean, even after the hurricane, you have no contact with people from the island. There is no electricity. There is no electricity. There is no. You can't call, and the road is barricaded. You can't even drive out. And at that point, you're surviving. When you get out, when you actually get when I got some time to really grasp what's happening, and it was actually when I heard my mom for the first time after. It's when I broke down. When I realized, oh my gosh, this really happened. It was so much for my mind to comprehend. Right after that, it took me 3 days to really realize what had happened, and that we survived. I didn't realize it. It was definitely survival, even though I used to say, well, no, we were safe and we were, and we were in a good situation and stuff like that. Even though the roof flew away, there were only rafters. My mind was telling me, no, yeah, but you're good. You're okay. It's only afterwards. And while I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, it's actually, we did survive. We survived it because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know it was, yeah, one of the biggest ones that passed St. Martin in over 20 years. And some people weren't even prepared. It was really the aftermath that hits you. That's what, and I think it's not the only thing with a hurricane, but definitely during this hurricane is what I realized, the aftermath. During, if you're safe, I mean, some people had it worse. I can imagine. I am glad I got spared. As to getting caught in the wind or something like that, but the aftermath does enough to anyone. Um, but there are also good things that happened, because the best thing, and um, what really identifies the people is the resilience. I didn't really understand what they meant. They always said, "No, the island people, they're resilient, man. Don't worry about them, man." And it was after the hurricane when you see that people come together. I mean, even the retailers, even though there was looting, but people were coming together. They were the bakery was sharing bread. People were helping each other. It's when you reach survival mode, the money doesn't count, the beauty doesn't count. Survival is what counts, and you've developed greater skills. I mean, I was with my family. We were at 8 people, and we had to make sure that whatever food we had, it had to last us. I became the chef, the repurposer of food.
Wow.
So I definitely learned quite some skills, but it was beautiful to see how people work together. I mean, you can decide to it's all what you focus on. You can decide to look at the looting and be mad about everything that's going wrong, but everybody was surprised. Nobody expected it, in the sense that nobody could comprehend what would it exactly be. I mean, you stock up on food, but to actually live it, it's something different.
Amazing.
Yes, but it taught me a lot, definitely.
and yet and still you're able to see the positive, even in such a traumatic event. And that says a lot about you as a person. And I'd like to talk about, so that I was looking at your bio, and I also saw that you have some certifications. One is that you're a certified Neurolinguistic programming practitioner, and
Yes.
also an access bars practitioner.
Yes.
A lot of what you're saying, it sounds as though it's related to what you actually are helping others with, because you've experienced it yourself.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how those skills, how you've been able to help those, use those to help others, and how it's helped you?
Yeah. Well, firstly, it definitely helped me first. There's one thing that I had to help myself first before could help others. And during the neurolinguistic programming course, before you get certified, you actually go through this whole process yourself before you can actually, apply it to others. So all the techniques, all the you go through it yourself, and I can tell you what it does. It's kind of it's you get the real mirror in front of you, and you realize, what are my fears really? Oh, I didn't realize I was fearful. What how am I my worst critic, and what do I criticize myself about? um and then sometimes it takes quite some time to realize that you tell yourself bad things more than anybody ever told you. And there was this exercise we did where, actually, I was with in a class with 60 people, men, women, young, old, and it was so amazing and transforming that all 60 of us were weeping.
Wow.
Yes. So you realize at some point there was an exercise where we had to realize, see what are the things you tell yourself, and then look at a picture of your younger self from between, 0 to 7, and tell yourself those bad things you tell yourself as an adult. That was, you can't, because now you see yourself, your picture of your younger self, and you're like, for instance, why are you so clumsy? You're stupid. You should have done this. You're ugly. You're stuff like that. I mean, we say it to ourselves on a daily basis, but you don't. Would you tell it to a kid? Would you tell it to your child? I don't have a child, but when I had to tell it to my younger child, my younger self, I bawled, literally. I tried not to cry, because one of my biggest um, blockages was showing emotion out in the open. But it was the power, the energy of everybody else feeling it, that helped me to let loose, to let go of those emotions. And that is actually, one of the biggest parts that helped me to find my flow, is really like getting face to face with who I am, and what being aware of what I am doing and saying to myself. So that is actually a technique which you use to help people realize what is happening unconsciously.
Wow.
And once you know what happens unconsciously, you can, adapt, consciously adapt behaviors to, new behaviors, so that that doesn't happen anymore, because at some point it blocks you from, um, 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 excelling in some certain cases. Can you imagine wanting to, let's say, sing, but somewhere in your childhood somebody told you sound like a goat, and then you don't even realize that you're thinking that, and that's why you're not singing, but you have a beautiful voice. I have a friend who had a similar experience, um, and you don't even realize that it might be something that's hindering you in your present life, in your adult life. So with neurolinguistic programming, we help you actually, reprogram those things, that are holding you back. And that's why with neurolinguistic programming, people are able to excel or change so quickly, because it's a belief that you cultivate which you didn't even know you were living unconscious, that is now come to light, and that changes you. So that is neurolinguistic programming, which I use in coaching. And one of the things that um, my coaches, a young guy who wanted to excel to a next position, also a fellow Surinamese a man, he was struggling with is that certain things from our upbringing, the need to having to how do you say it, defend yourself. Well, it's not necessary, you know, defend yourself. And I realized that some of these things stem from generations before. They stem from even slavery times, and we bring them on and on and on, you know. So we are connected to our older generations, and there's things there, generational blockages, that sometimes are still in our energy, our vibration. And it was one thing that he told me helped him realize, or helped him shift very fast, is when we were discussing. I said, but if you go into a meeting, what's the intention? The intention with which you start something, anything, often determines the outcome. If you intend to have a fight, if you intend to defend yourself, what do you expect is going to happen? So when he started to um, consciously, intentionally set his intentions for a meeting or anything he needed to do, it changed. And it's the same thing that that's actually the reason I was able to um, recommend it to him, is because that's something I do. I also set intentions for this meeting, and I was like, it's going to be calm, I'm going to have fun, and mostly I'm going to have fun. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. So that is a little bit about neurolinguistic programming. And I'm also an access bars practitioner. And the best way to explain that is that on our head we have 32 points, which if you touch them lightly, it's connected to different behaviors, different emotions, different beliefs and considerations and ideas, that if you touch them lightly, you kind of get it get balanced out. And it's one of the practices that you can use to free up your energy and to balance your energy. And if my clients are open to it, I give them a session. It's about 1.5 hours, because there are 32 points, and all points you lightly hold. We're not pushing. 7 minutes for adults, and then it releases. It gives you back control. The best way to explain it is that, imagine I'm 38 now, and I've been having certain beliefs, and I'm living on autopilot. But there are a lot of things that we do unconscious. So the subconscious mind takes over. What happens when you drive a car? Because you're trained to it, your subconscious mind takes over, and you can do a lot of things while driving. You can have a conversation. You don't have to look at every mirror every second anymore, because it happens automatically. So the autopilot takes over. Sometimes it's beneficial, but can you imagine in the case where, for instance, you believe that you sound like a goat, that it's not best and beneficial to you, and subconsciously you're remembering that. What access bars does, it gives you back control. So it helps you with your consciousness. So all those beliefs, emotions, and ideas are actually rebalanced by giving you back control, just by touching them.
Wow. I think that is so interesting, just how touch can do so. They've done studies where they've even, you probably heard about this. It's with children. It was done many years ago who were in an orphanage. And the children who were untouched were the children who didn't thrive physically, like they didn't grow normally.
Yes.
So I think that there's so much that we still have to learn about just the act of touch.
Yes.
And how it can stimulate the mind. I think that's amazing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But to realize that there are so many tools, of which maybe I'm not even aware about, that we've received. Now our Creator, He gives us so many tools throughout the years, and to help us live a better life, to be conscious, and to, we're here to enjoy life. Actually, we're not here to struggle. We're here to enjoy life, and we are handed these tools to help us enjoy the life that we're living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that everyone just heard what Marilyn said. We are here to enjoy life. We're not here to struggle. It doesn't mean that we've never experienced struggle or that we may not live through it, but it shouldn't be perpetual. Am I right? It shouldn't be a perpetual struggle to breathe and to exist.
It's not the goal.
I absolutely agree.
Yes.
I'd like to hear more about female inflow and why this is so special to you and how you feel that it will impact people who aren't female as well.
Female inflow. Ooh, that's me. That's me. Female inflow is the name of my business, and it actually identifies me, and it identifies females in the sense that I identify as female, and with female inflow, I actually envision a world where everyone is living in flow and effortlessly achieving their goals. That's what female inflow stands for. And even though it has the word female in it, it's not just about women, because there's the best way for me to explain it is the reason why I do focus on women is because I understand them. I am one. I am one, and I want to help my sisters. I want to actually help my sisters help themselves. And the reason why I think that helping women means helping the world, helping everybody, is because, as you know, empowered women empower men.
That's right.
And empowered men empower women.
That's right.
And both of them empower children. So it captures everyone. And it's actually, it's a mindset. So female in flow, it's a mindset. And I consider every female a female in flow, because we have everything we need within us. It just sometimes takes some changes, some challenges to find that flow. But we all have that flow within us, because we all have our own rhythm. You just need to find your rhythm. And with Female in Flow, I want to help women find their flow, or I help women find their flow.
And I love what you said, Marilyn. You said you want to help women help themselves. And then you went back to it, you reiterated your point when you said everyone has that within them. It's just that sometimes they need help discovering it.
Exactly.
So I love that. And I can, and even based on your bio, I can tell that you're someone who loves to inspire others by allowing them to see the power that they have within themselves to accomplish and to become the person they're meant to be. Talk to me about, and I love that. Talk to me about how an empowered woman can help to empower a man.
Most definitely, if I look at myself, because my journey was to find my flow, and the whole Female in Flow thing, or the identity or the term, the business, it started long ago. Actually, from somewhere, I think 2006, 7, I wanted to start the business with a friend of mine. We around the concept of flow. So for me, at some point, I can't tell you how, when, or what. It probably was given to me. Feminine Flow was formed. But coming back to what you asked just now, in regards to, oh gosh, I talk too much. Can you reiterate your question?
No problem. No, that's okay. I'm enjoying this. How can an empowered woman empower a man?
Yes. So where I was coming to is my own story, in a sense that now that I found my flow, I actually found the rhythm of who I am. I am comfortable with myself, and I'm okay with being vulnerable. Vulnerability is such a strength which some people are only now realizing, in a sense that we realize that if you are confident of who you are inside, there's no threat. You don't see anybody else as a threat, and definitely not a man. I know there are a lot of women who see men as a threat because of experiences, and the other way around too, but now we're women and we know what we're talking about. We've all been hurt, right? And from friends and even from my own experiences, I have seen men as a threat, in a sense that you wouldn't leave them come close. I wouldn't necessarily put them down, but the energy that I would send out in my mind would be would not be supportive. I mean, so in a sense that if you are sure of yourself, in a sense that who you are, you don't need the validation from a man. And the term, it's probably well known that some people say women are needy, they're naggy. And they don't understand us completely. We're complex, but we're beautiful. And in a sense that I remember when I was young, in a relationship, when I was unsure, you could be needy sometimes because you need validation. But if you're empowered yourself, right, you have more room to focus on being together, enjoying the now, which definitely empowers men in a way, because I believe it doesn't only empower men, it empowers everybody around you. Again, we all know it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Absolutely.
So whatever you do from the base of your heart with love and compassion, people see that. You can talk a lot, but if you don't live it, it doesn't come true. And that is how I think that women empower men, by just being that example. And just to give an example, that I married my first love, got divorced, and shut myself off for about 10 years. It took me finding my flow to open up myself to men again.
Okay.
And I am, as we speak, currently enjoying love. Yes, I am enjoying it. I'm not thinking about too much what's going to happen tomorrow or what can go wrong, because I'm empowered from within. I know and trust. And that's what it's all about for me. Even though I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, what we have is now. So I have decided to enjoy the now, and for as long as it may take, as it may be now. I mean, you don't know what's happening tomorrow, but make the best of today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the fact that you said that because you came to terms with who you were. I'm basically kind of rephrasing what you said,
Yeah.
but you were at peace with who you were, so you didn't need validation from someone else.
Yes.
And because you were able to do that, you could focus on other things that were relating to your relationship.
True.
And I love that you said that an empowered woman empowers everyone, because that would be the child. Like, let's say if there's a mom and a child,
Yes.
and that empowered woman wouldn't seek even validation of, I'm a good mother. I'm a good mother. Like, she won't need that from her child. She can just love her child and allow her child to grow and to blossom. And she'd be able to love them through things instead of saying, oh, well, this, what they did doesn't show, it doesn't reflect well on me. You see, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly.
instead of her relying on them for her own identity's sake, she can love them as they are and help to nurture them while knowing that she, as a mother, she's doing the best she can.
Sure.
And she knows as a person, she knows who she is and she loves herself. And that empowers the child, because now the child can also just grow up knowing that they are in a secure relationship with their parent. The parent is not putting stress on them that, you have to make me look good.
Yes.
Instead, it's, I want you to blossom. I want you to
Yes.
grow. I want you to
Yes.
shine. And so I love that you said that, because an empowered person empowers others.
Exactly.
And I agree with you. The same for an empowered man. He
Yes.
too can empower women and others.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for
I
sharing that.
love the way you paraphrase that, because that's actually definitely what being an empowered woman means. You can look at it from different perspectives, and it captures all. I wanted to just add one thing, because
Absolutely.
when you mentioned the fact that the mother can, when you're fully yourself, you can let the child be. Something that came to mind, which you probably also know, the famous quote is that you have to fill your cup first before you can pour onto others. You have to
There
fill
you
your
go.
cup first. And this is the perfect example, because if people don't do as you say, they do, you are an example and they do as you do, especially children. They never listen. They just become you. They just become you. So the best thing you can do is become the person, just be the person you want the child to be.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's true. That's
Yep.
wisdom. What you said is so true. They watch more than they listen. So when we are content with ourselves, and contentment doesn't necessarily mean that, we are stagnant. We're always trying to become a better us, but you still have to be content knowing that, okay, I'm doing the best that I can do today, and I'm able to see myself for who I am. I can see my imperfections, but I can also see my growth.
Yes.
And I still love me. And when our kids or our neighbors or our love or our friends see that, it frees them to be themselves. So that's why I was so excited to do this interview with you, because when you talk about empowerment and being in flow, it all comes back to the ability to love and accept ourselves. So I love that. I love that.
That is exactly it. It starts with self-love. And what immediately comes to mind is the fact that we are so loved. We are so loved. Yes. And actually we are when you see yourself as the embodiment of love and the love you receive from your creator, whatever you want to call him, you are the love. You are the love. And I mean, I feel all giddy and I just feel the love right now.
I love it.
I am enjoying this a lot.
Me too. And I so agree. That, everyone on this planet is so loved. And I feel as though if people really knew that and were able to see that, the planet would look so different. It would look so different. And that is why I join you in just helping to promote the concept of loving ourselves so that we can love others, so that we can each one of us be in flow and fulfill our purpose and our destinies.
Yeah.
And help those who come after us do the same.
Yeah.
I'd like to give you the floor to share anything at all that maybe you wanted to share with our listeners, or maybe it's a word of encouragement, maybe it's support, or a business that you support or that you offer. Anything at all that you'd like to share with our listeners, I'd like to give you the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, because there are two things I would like to share, and following what we've been talking about today, and following what we just talked about, it's the importance of acceptance. Accepting yourself for who you are, as you are at this right hot moment, that you are enough, that you are indeed loved, that whatever is happening on the side in your environment, you are here. And that alone is a great gift. You can tap into the feeling by accepting it. I mean, we struggle with when you look on social medias, you see perfect pictures of people in looking all tied up and with six-pack and stuff like that. It's nice, but you are good as you are. I struggled through the same thing while I was already looking good. Being a perfectionist, it's just accept yourself. That is one of the most important things, and that's where self-love starts. Accepting who you are as you are. You don't need to compare yourself with anyone else. And just believing and actually knowing you have everything you have within you. And I promise you, this is no joke. I promise you, if you ask yourself the questions that you don't know, you ask it to yourself, you will find the answer. Because what happens, not just the two things, your mind, your brain starts working towards what you are asking. It's your brain will automatically find solutions. Ask yourself the right questions. If you ask, why did this happen to me? Just like a computer, your brain is going to give you all the reasons why. But if you ask yourself, how can I, if you have a difficult situation, how can I get out of this situation? Your brain will start looking for solutions. That's why I'm saying you have all the answers within you. You just need to ask yourself the right questions, and it will be answered from within. From your mind, but also from your creator. However you identify as your creator, God, or whatever religion you have. I'm talking to everyone here. The answers are within you. And I think you know that already.
Wow, this is powerful. I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
I really did. I'm glad that we were able to talk, to connect, and to break bread.
Yes.
Because oftentimes, like you said, people think the answer is outside.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly believe that there's so much, like there are verses that say, knock and the door will be open. Ask
and you
will see the answer. And I do believe in the word of God. But I also believe that there's so much, like you said, that he's already told us. But until we look inside and ask ourselves and are honest with ourselves, we have to be honest with ourselves. Many of those answers are already inside.
They are.
But sometimes people feel as though there's like inner lack and like, oh, I don't know. But did you ask yourself?
Exactly.
Did you really look?
Yeah.
I love that.
And the beauty of it all is that we are all here, and we are all here to help each other. We're never alone. we sometimes feel alone, but we are all connected. And I have to tell you, yesterday I wasn't feeling so well. I went through a path, and I'm going to keep it short because we need to find lines. I went through a path of just having some negative feelings, and I caught myself. I became conscious, and then I went into this flow of, you know, realizing how blessed I am, how fortunate I am, how my life as it is, even though it's not perfect, is my life, and accepting it for what it is and just expecting better. And at some point, I realized, and it just was a really, really strong feeling that we are all connected. Can you imagine that we're all on this earth, and the earth, it's round? Can you imagine that through Mother Earth, we're all connected if we just stand on the earth? So if you help another person and we're all connected, you help yourself.
Wow.
But when you help yourself, because we are all connected, you're helping others too. And that's actually the second message I want to give, is that whether you are actively helping others, or if it's only the only thing you can do at this moment is help yourself, it's good enough.
I love that. I love that. I hope that the listeners have taken in all of this. Well, I hope that they heard what you said about the need for them to ask themselves the questions that need to be asked.
Yeah.
I hope that they've listened to you talk about the fact that helping themselves is just as important as helping others, because like you said, the cup has to be full, right?
Exactly.
Before we can pour into someone else. And the fact that we need to love ourselves enough to pour into ourselves, the fact that that is necessary to help others, I hope that they understand that. There's so many great takeaways from the conversation that we had today, and from the wealth of information and knowledge you shared with us. And you did it with so much love. Like I can feel the love, and I so appreciate that.
Thank you.
And I hope that you can feel our love.
Oh, most definitely. I am enjoying this just as much as you are.
I'm glad.
We are co-creating.
There you go. We're in flow.
We are definitely in flow.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you so much, Marilyn.
You're welcome.
Thank you so very much.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you. So this has been another amazing episode of The Journey with Marilyn Crony, female in flow. Would you like to provide any contact information or any resources that would lead to you for our listeners, so that they could get in touch with you if they'd like? Maybe social media, I'm not sure.
Yes, you can find me. You just type in female in flow, and you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on, I have a Facebook, also on Instagram, and also on YouTube. So I also, if you want to get in contact me, feel free to send me a WhatsApp as well. And you can send me a WhatsApp on +31 647 89 7910.
Excellent. So, because I know that listeners are going to want to get in touch with you, so I just want to make sure that we get your name out there, Marilyn Crony.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wealth, health, blessings to you in the Netherlands and to your loved ones. This has been another great episode of The Journey. Thank you for joining us as we seek knowledge, gain insight, and we share our experiences with the people that we've been privileged to take time to get to know. Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a great night as well.